Good morning, everyone. This is Dan Ehrman. I'm one of the co-founders and president of ClubExpress. So welcome to a Monday webinar. This one's a little bit different. We normally do them on Wednesdays, but of course, this week is going to be a Thanksgiving like no other. Unfortunately, we all probably won't be able to get together with family and friends, but we have a lot to be thankful for coming towards the end of, one of the most eventful years in anyone's lives. So hopefully it'll continue to be a safe and peaceful holiday season for everyone. So what we're going to do today is talk about the version 10.1 update. So a few housekeeping items. Phones are muted, and we'd like you to enter your questions in the chat window. We have Samantha with us. She's one of our ClubExpress people. And if there are questions that can be answered immediately, then she'll be handling them. And then towards the end of the webinar, we'll have a chance for general questions. So we are recording, and we usually edit these webinars and then have them available within 24 to 48 hours on our main website and also on our YouTube channel. We have a ton of training videos available, and I'm going to show you in a moment how to access the video tutorials specifically on the new control panel. And just a little note at the end, if ClubExpress is working well for your organization, we'd love it if you could go to clubexpress.com/reviews for more information and post a review on one of the review aggregator websites. So in order to access our video tutorials, if you go to our main website, we go to the Cool Stuff page, and then over on the left-hand side, click on Webinars, and then in the body of the page, click on Recorded Webinars and Recent Webinars, and the new ones that we do are always posted at the top here, and that jumps over to our YouTube page. The other thing you can do is actually, when you get to our YouTube page, you can subscribe so that you'll get a note from YouTube only whenever we post a new video on the page. So let's have a look at the control panel. This is actually the first part of version 10.1. We have some more features that are in development, and we're hoping to deploy those by the end of the year. One of the main things that's in the next round of changes, just to whet your appetite for what's to come, is an update to the member profile screen. We're going to redesign that one, again, to be more modern, fewer choices, less scrolling. So before we jump into the details of the control panel, let me go over to the main website and just recap. This is the main ClubExpress website, and if any of you want to get back to the announcement that we made about version 10.1, you click on this little snipe over here in the top left-hand corner, and it takes you to the announcement for version 10.1, and then the different features that are listed here over on the left-hand side. And there is a link here to the video tutorial. So this is one way to get to the video that Alan did about version 10.1. And if we go to the control panel, you'll see that there's also a link down at the bottom, which takes you to the same video. So we'll go back to the slideshow. So the new control panel has been redesigned. It's a lot more modern. It has fewer choices. There's less scrolling. It's also responsive to mobile devices. But the idea was we wanted to get rid of all of those things that you never use or that you use very rarely, and just put them off in a separate place so that you only need to focus on those options that you're using on a regular basis. So let's jump over to the control panel and have a look. Now we're running on a demo test club here. So this is one that's not accessible to you. And when I click on control panel, we'll come down here, and let me just scroll down a little bit, and there is the new control panel. We've gotten rid of the instruction text. We've gotten rid of just, the long page that has options organized vertically and that doesn't use the full width of the screen very effectively. Now you'll notice that there are still the same 6 tabs across the top. And for those of you that are our Aging in Place Village customers, there will be a 7th tab, which is the Services tab, that sits right here. But for the general demo, we're not showing that. The control panel has 3 panels on each tab, but those panels have been reorganized slightly. So the first one is the admin functions. These are things that you use on a regular basis that are available to administrators and coordinators only. And you'll notice we've gotten rid of a separate panel for reports, and reports is now an option on the admin functions panel. So if I click reports, we'll get an initial dialog that shows us the original categories. And then when I click on membership info, for example, now it brings up the original dialog, and you can step through reports the way you normally do. And when you're finished, you can run another report, or you can click on Close. The next panel are the website modules. Now, these are functions built into ClubExpress that have both a user side and an admin side. And right now we're looking at the admin side. That's the default view. So if I click here on committees, for example, it's going to take me to the committees administration screen, where I can manage, create new committees, manage the memberships of committees. If I want to go to the user side of the module, there's a link over here, switch to view mode. And when I do that, now if I click on committees, it takes me to the user side of the module. So we no longer have separate icons that are visible. There's just one choice, and you decide where you want to go. And the studies that we did determined that most of the time when people are on the control panel, they want to go to the admin side of the module, or what we call the edit side. Now, the other thing that used to be on the old control panel, in fact, let me just jump over to the old control panel so we can compare it. So, all of these icons over here are gone, and I'll show you how to access those in a moment. But there's also this information here to tell you whether a module is active or not active, and also to see who can see that module, whether it's visible to everyone or members only. So the way we handle that in the new control panel is with this little setting immediately after each choice. So if you see the letter P, then it means that the module is available to be shown to the public. Of course, it's not there unless you actually put it on the menu or create a link to it. If you see M, then it's available to be shown to members. And if you see NA, then it means the module is not active. Now, you might have a module which is not active because you're still configuring it. You're adding functions, adding features, and configuring the module before you make it available and put it on the menu. Now, there's actually a fourth setting, which we don't see here, where the module is disabled. And in the past, with the old control panel, for example, if you were an organization that wasn't using the collectibles module, you could go to the wrench icon here and you could disable the module completely. And when you disabled it, you could see it was not enabled, but it's still here on the control panel. And you always had to wade your way through it, even if you were an organization that would never, ever use that particular module. Well, in the new control panel, we have the ability to disable and hide that module, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And so by definition, you won't see it anymore. And then down at the bottom, we see the setup functions that are, the same as they've always been. Now, you'll notice also that each function, each module on the control panel has a unique icon. You can click on the icon, you can click on the text. And what we're planning to do in the future, you'll notice that there's an icon up here, is that these icons will appear when you click on the option. We go to the People Manager, and eventually that same icon that you see on the control panel will appear over on the left-hand side here. And it's a visual tip that gives you some continuity that you've come to the right place. When we look at the website tab, again, the same layout, the same options that I just described, but this time it's those functions that appear on the website. Same with the Money tab, and every one of these choices has a unique icon. Same with the club or association or society or village tab, whatever you've changed this keyword to be. Those options are the same. Same with communications. All of these options are the same as they were, but we've just compressed everything, tried to make it more efficient, more visual, more modern. The other thing that we've done is that modules that used to appear in some cases on multiple tabs will now only appear on one tab. So for example, in the past, the event calendar, which is right here, appeared on, I think, the People tab because people register for events, the website tab because the calendar is a big part of the website, and maybe even the club tab as well. We've changed that. Now these functions appear on only one tab, and so it might take a little bit for you to just get used to. If you were used to clicking on events on the club tab, well, now events is not there, it's on the website tab. And once you get used to it, we hope that that'll be a pretty seamless process. Now, there's a couple of other features that we've added to the control panel. One of them is notices from ClubExpress. As an administrator, when you first come into the control panel, If there's anything that we want to communicate to you, you will see a panel at the top that says Notices from ClubExpress, and there'll be a notice that's listed here. Once you've seen it once, this panel will disappear. The way it works is that we track when each administrator logs in and when they've looked at the notice once, and then after that we hide it so that it doesn't take up space. If you ever want to come back to it, you can click on Show Notices and we'll show you those notices. And then we can also make notices active and current, or we can switch them to an older or hidden status. So if you want to view an older notice, you click here and you can see the older notices. And again, those can be hidden as well. Now, all of the configure functions, these ones over here, have now been moved to a new option called configure. And when you click configure, you're going to bring up a little dialog, which is the configure dialog. And it allows you to select functions for each tab. So this list will be slightly different depending on which tab you're on. If I go to the People tab and click on Configure, you can see that we see a different list. Now, when I select a regular module, what I'm going to see are two tabs over on the right-hand side here. And the Configure tab is basically the same as what we got when we clicked on the wrench. So I don't recall what I clicked on, maybe it was Forum, but you can see these options here are exactly the same as we get on the new Configure tab here, with one minor change, and that is the status can be either active or inactive or disabled and hidden. So if I want to turn off the volunteering module completely so that it no longer appears, I can select disabled or hidden, I can click Save, and then when I click Close, the control panel refreshes and you'll notice that the volunteering module is gone. Now, the other thing to point out is that when you make changes here, these apply to all administrators. So it's not like there are settings that are for each administrator or separately. Any changes that you make to visibility apply to all administrators. We come back into the Configure dialog, and you'll notice down at the bottom, there's an option here that says Disabled Modules for this tab, and that module is down here. If I was to change it, for example, to inactive, and then click Save, and then click Close, you'll notice the volunteering module is back and it's not active. Now, the other option that's available here, of course, is coordinators. And here is where we can add coordinators for each module or each function. If I go to something that's an admin-only function, like the People Manager, then coordinators is the only option that I see. And the same with report groups. I can go to report groups, and coordinators are the only options I see. So you can create a coordinator for a group of reports. And the important point here is that those configuration functions, which you would use only very rarely, and which took up a fair amount of space, are now off on this configure dialog here. So you don't need to spend time looking at them or worrying about what those icons are.
Hi, Dan. We have a quick question. Do you need to reconfigure any of the coordinators that you've set up if a function is on maybe a different tab than it was before, or if it's only sitting on one tab and you may have configured the coordinator when the module was sitting in a different tab?
Yeah, oh, great question. Thank you, Sam. No, you don't need to do any of that reconfiguring. Even though a module in the past appeared on multiple tabs, when you clicked on the old People icon, this one here, for example, for volunteering, you can see it's the same dialogue that we just showed you. It's just in a different place. But even though it appeared on multiple tabs, the coordinators were the same. So none of that needs to be reconfigured. One of the things that we tried to do with the new control panel was retain as much of the behind the scenes configuration as possible, but really just put a new surface on the control panel, one that was responsive, with less scrolling, fewer choices that you need to make, fewer things that you needed to worry about. So we looked at some of these other tabs. You can see they all have exactly the same layout. The support tab is a little bit different as well. So let's have a quick look at that one. We've reorganized the support tab again to try and minimize scrolling and to use the available width a little bit more efficiently. So in the top left-hand panel here, there's just a note about our online help system, and you can access it by clicking here. Of course, you can always access it by clicking this icon up in the top right corner. Over on the right-hand side is a note about the administrator forum. And if the forums module is active, even if it's not on the menu, if you're not using it, as long as it's active, you'll see a button here that will take you to the administrator forum. Now, one of the things that we're hoping to do in the next few weeks is actually add multiple administrator forums so that we can have different forums for different parts of the platform. We could also have vertical market forums. So we could have a village forum or a forum just for cycling and running clubs and yacht clubs and things like that. So that's something that we're still working on. If the forums module is not active, then what you'll see here is a slightly different note that says, and the button will be different. It'll say activate forums module, something like that. And so when you click that button, it will actually activate the module for you. It won't put it on any menu or anything. You don't need to worry about that, so that you can access the administrator forum. Now, out of our very comprehensive help system, Sam actually generates a number of user manuals. And so those manuals are available in this panel here. If you click on Control Panel, there's a number of different manuals here that you can download. This is not the full list. When we go into production, you'll see the full list. And I can collapse that down again. Same with the video tutorials. Again, this is not the full list because this is running on one of our testing environments. But again, you can expand the videos and see what videos are available. And then our contact information down at the bottom. And the one other change that we've made is for those customers outside the US, we will actually show now the local phone number here. So we have a local phone number, for example, in the UK. When you call that number, it rings in our office in Chicago. The same in Australia. For those customers in Australia, we have a local phone number that just rings directly in our office in Chicago. So that's all now been localized. Okay, so before we get into some of the other changes that we've made as part of this version, I think this might be a good time to pause. And Sam, let's see if there's any other questions that folks have about the control panel.
Yes, so custom directories that would have been created for clubs and associations, there were some questions about where those might sit.
The custom directories will sit on exactly the same tab that they used to be on, which in most cases is the club or association or society or village tab. I hope most of you know that you can actually change this keyword up here. If you go down to club options, you can pick a different keyword for your organization. So for example, I can change this to association. And when I come back now, this tab says association. So in the past, we've typically placed those custom directories or the Finder modules that we've created. We've typically placed them on the club or association tab, and that's where they'll be in the new control panel. That hasn't changed.
That about covers it for this section so far.
All righty, let's go back to the slides. So again, let me just recap the things that I showed you earlier. Notices from ClubExpress, just a better way for us to communicate with you on minor notices and issues. The tab organization is the change, but the panels have slightly changed. So there's no longer a separate panel for reports. It's now an icon in the admin functions panel. And then website modules have now been separated out. So those modules that have both a user side and an admin side. The configure icon for each tab, and it gives you the ability to hide options that your association is not using and never will use. And it applies, of course, to all admins and coordinators. Visibility for the modules, we've redesigned the support tab, and most importantly, the new control panel will be deployed tomorrow morning. Now, there's nothing special that you need to do when you log in tomorrow morning. We usually do those deployments around 6 or 6:30 US Central Time. So when you log in after that, you will see the new control panel. So let's very quickly go through some of the other enhancements that are part of this release. And as I said earlier, this is only the first part of the release. We do have some things that were not quite ready, so that the development team is continuing to work on those. And we're hoping to have another deployment before the end of the year, the second part of version 10.1. So the People Manager lookup function now allows searching by phone number. We inadvertently left that off when we deployed the People Manager as part of our new release. And we didn't realize how many people actually used the phone number search. When I click here, I can enter phone number, and I could enter a string like 847, for example, and it will find that string anywhere in the phone number field, the alt phone number field, the work phone field, and the mobile phone field. So we search those. We don't search the toll-free number or the fax number, I think, which are also potentially part of a member's record. But we do search, the main ones that people use. So we've also made some improvements in how quoted messages are handled as part of discussion forums. When we deployed the initial round of enhancements to discussion forums in the last 2 releases, we introduced a new editor in forums. And let me just show you that, a new and simpler editor. So if I go to discussion forums, I'm actually on the regular demo club right now, not on the test club. So when you click reply, this is actually a new and simplified editor. The original editor we had was causing problems. People were getting confused, and there were formatting issues, and sometimes people would enter content into this editor that would then screw up the appearance of the forum. So we changed to a simpler editor that still has all of the formatting tools that you might need, but it doesn't have the same problems that the previous editor has. Now, you still have the ability to quote the previous message, but it works slightly differently. When you click on this, it's going to give you a pop-up window that allows you to edit what you're quoting. So, for example, I could new harness for inflating balloon without tangling. So I could just edit what I'm quoting, and I can even perhaps make that bold. And then when I submit the quote, it now appears the way I've edited, and it's in a panel that you can't change, and I can continue posting my message. So that was a minor change that we made to make things work a little bit better. For those of you that are relatively new to ClubExpress, and those of you that have been with us for a while, you know that we import your membership database. You get to review the data. Those members are in a special status. And once the website is ready and everything's been set up, you give us the magic word, and we send out the welcome email for you, and you can customize that welcome email. We now have the ability to resend the welcome email to all of those people who have not logged in. And of course, you can edit it in between. So if anyone's interested in doing that, just contact our customer success team and tell them that you want to resend the welcome email, and we can now do that for you. When an admin records a payment, there's now some more flexibility on whether you want to send the notification email. There's a new checkbox on the payment page. Look at the Northwest Balloon Club. Let me go to the control panel. This is the old one, of course. And I'll just click search here. And if I pick a payment at random, and as an admin, I'm going to select, for example, comp as the payment method. And this is the new option right here, send confirmation email to the user. And so this option will appear where it's appropriate, and you can choose whether or not to send that confirmation email. You can now assign tertiary members to a committee. We never allowed that in the past because our feeling was that if someone can't log in to participate in the activities of the organization as a member, that it didn't make sense to put them on a committee. But we had a couple of clubs that came to us and said, no, we have circumstances where we want a family member, for example, who can't log in, but they're a member of the committee. We want to be able to send them emails as a member of the committee. And so we added that ability. For clubs with virtual membership cards, we have a number of clubs that are using our virtual membership cards feature who have business memberships. So for example, a skiing club might have a local ski shop with multiple locations as a business or sponsoring member. And if they have virtual membership cards, what you want to appear on the card is not only the business name, but also the name of the member. Maybe the sponsoring membership gets 5 people who can be members of the club. And so you want the virtual membership card to have the name of the business and the member's name immediately underneath that. So we enhanced the virtual membership cards feature so that if it's a business membership, we can now have the name of the business and then the name of the member. We also improved the print page function on the pending payments page. So for those people who need to print an invoice, who want to pay by check or cash, well, we actually are on the payment page right now. If I click the print page function, you'll see I get a much nicer looking page that I can print on my local computer or print it to a PDF if I need to. So we've just improved that function. And the other thing that I wanted to mention to you is that we've actually relaxed some of the rules that we use for clubs and associations who use the built-in merchant account. We've made some internal changes in how credit cards are processed in order to lower the risk. Because remember, when you're using the built-in merchant account, that's actually a ClubExpress merchant account that we manage. So as I said, we've made some internal changes to lower the risk. And so one of the things that we've done is we can now raise the limit on charges. In the past, the limit used to be around $500. On request, we could raise it to $1,000. If you were turning American Express off, we could raise it to $1,500. We can now raise it, including American Express, up to $3,000. That's the first change that we've made. So if you're an association that's typically or that's occasionally accepting donations at that higher number, that's something that we can do. But keep in mind, we still won't do that for a brand new club or association. We need to see some kind of track record for 3 or 6 months before we can raise it up that high. We can also allow you to do automatic charges against a saved credit card. So for those of you that want to use recurring donations, somebody says, I want to donate $25 every month to the association. You can now use the built-in merchant account for that instead of having to set up your own merchant account. You might have a member type that automatically renews and pays. So we can now do that with the built-in merchant account. And the third change that we've made is that if you want to use the e-commerce storefront module, you can now do that with the built-in merchant account. In the past, because there was physical merchandise being sent backwards and forwards, we felt that the risk was higher, so we required you to set up your own merchant account. Again, we've changed the risk internally. Now, there are still some criteria where you do need to have your own merchant account, and let me just show you how that works. If I go to payment processing on our main website and then learn more about credit card processing and when your own merchant account is required. So those of you that are running membership-based businesses, you need to have your own merchant account. If you have a restaurant or bar facility and you're processing member tabs, you need to have your own merchant account. And we do have some organizations running on ClubExpress that are chartered by the state or sponsored by a state-level institution. For example, we have an association on ClubExpress that's part of the University of Michigan. And so they're chartered by a state-level organization. And so in that case, they do need to have their own merchant account because they're not allowed to give us bank information, so that money that's collected that flows through us, where we can send that money to you. Now, the one other change that I wanted to point out is that we've now fully enabled Stripe support for credit card processing. Now, we did this specifically to support a wider group of countries around the world. Previously, we were supporting Authorize.net, which supported Canada, the UK, Australia, and that was about it. And apparently, for some reason, Authorize.net's actually even pulling out of the UK and Australia. So we've now added support for Stripe for credit card processing. It replaces e-online data, or what was called EVO payments. If you have an account still with EVO that's using Authorize.net, you can certainly continue to do that. But you might also want to consider switching over to Stripe because I think you'll find that the fees are lower. E-online data / EVO and authorized.net, one of the things we found is that they were adding some junk charges to their fees. Stripe doesn't do that. They charge a flat rate of 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction, which is very similar to what we charge for the Builtin merchant account. They support 42 countries, which is great because we're looking to expand ClubExpress into other countries. There is a new process to sign up if you're interested in switching over to Stripe. The way you do that is by contacting our customer success team, and they can enable Stripe for you. And when you do that, a new option appears on the Money Options page, which allows you to launch the Stripe sign-up process for credit card processing. It takes about 10 minutes to fill out the form, and you should get approval about 20 minutes after that. And for those of you, again, that are still using authorized.net, it's still supported. And of course, the Builtin merchant account, nothing has changed there, except we've made it more secure and less risky. So that's everything that I wanted to show you today. But as I've said a couple of times already, there's more coming in version 10.1, and we're hoping to have another one of these sessions, an announcement and a webinar towards the end of the year. But we did want to get the control panel stuff out there and show it to you before we deployed it, because for things that everybody uses that are as critical as this, we've made a commitment a couple of years ago to show those to you before we deploy them, instead of springing them on you overnight. And so that was a part of this. The control panel will be deployed tomorrow. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today. It's nice to be able to finish a little bit early for once. Typically we run over because we have a lot of things to show, but as I've said, we split this release up into 2 separate releases. So this is the first half, and the rest of it will be at the end of the year. Thank you and take care.